Um, yeah, I'm kind of in a somber mood at the moment since yesterday or so. I've said I've been in a somber mood. Um, yeah, that's why I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. Because I am distracted. I'm pretty distracted. But yeah, man. Yeah, you know what? I'll start with the last video where I was warning Russian and Serbian guys and whatever. And yeah, I take that back, because I honestly don't think that it's even my place to make such a statement. It really is, you know, I'm not one of the people that are part of that individual's life, in the real sense, in the day-to-day sense. So I take that back. And the other video that I made, where I was sort of explaining the whole misunderstandings. You know, I was accused of lots of things, of being obsessed, of you know, a lot of people came to me like, yeah, you wait forever, you're wasting your time, you're an idiot, you're a fool, you're all loyal, and you know, you keep trying every day, and you know, since like 2012 you haven't gotten any tangible or real feedback. And yeah, basically I was a fool. Even my grand uncles were laughing at me when I was at the village, for declaring that online. And yeah, I mean, that was what it was. I take it back. I don't think it even meant anything to that person, whether she saw it or not. So yeah, I've stopped with that, you know. You know, it's basically just good that I'm fortunate enough to have someone that cares and goes beyond all her fears and doubts to reach out to me. And yeah, you know, I've been unfair to her, and I guess if there was a video, I should have made a video for her, thanking her for the role that she played, and you know, basically just say how much I value her loyalty, and I mean, who am I, you know? And yeah, she's loyal and tries a lot to come to the front, you know, as opposed to me always jumping, trying to get to, yeah. So yeah, she's my anchor right now. I felt guilty at first, because there was that whole I don't want to ruin a good person. I don't want to ruin a good person. I've been through that, I've been pretending to be who I was not. I did things I wouldn't do just to sort of please the other one. And what do I get? I get a picture or something. And now it just dawned on me that I should accept that the last redirect message that I got was a message that told me that I had confused. And I was basically being dumped, but was being dumped, told I was living a fantasy. I created a relationship that wasn't there. That's the message I got, the direct message I got. And I think that's the one that I should take and just, it's life. Bury myself in my books and my work. Anyway, that aside, I had to say that because I was composing my mind. As well. What I want to talk about, discuss, was the whole notion of old people and young people. Now, it's no secret that I once said that our current president, Dr. Hage Geingob, is too old to be president. And I also once, I also once said, he's so old. I mean, how can we be sure he will be able to accomplish things, and how will we be sure he will, he has the energy to do that? These were sort of like tests, because after those, there was a big transformation. Followed by understanding that in Namibia were divided between the very old and the very young, right? So it's the question of elders and the generation gap. And let's be honest, in Namibia the generation gap is huge. The gap between people who are 18 to the age group that's in their 50s, 60s, 70s is very, very big. And this sort of brings up a conflict that derives from traditional culture. You're not supposed to disrespect your elders. That's our culture. But in politics, your elder is not necessarily your elder. The conduct that is asked or sought after in politics is to be able to challenge someone, irrespective of their age. And it should be the ability to appoint someone irrespective of their age, because we have an African notion that you should be qualified, or you can only be qualified to be president or something if you're in your 50s, 60s or 70s. When the American president Barack Obama was inaugurated, he was the youngest. Just to sort of give you a glimpse of this. And as such, there were lots of people who didn't want to work under him, older people. on the merit of them being older than him, but they are more professional. They are more professional, so their conduct is different. But here we have a narrative of who fought for the country, who was in the liberation struggle, who was in exile, and those people are supposed to be the people that take up leadership positions. The problem with this is, if they are the people that fought for the liberation and they are the people that fought for our freedom, how will they know how to conduct themselves in times of peace? And there was a long-running test that I put up, and the next thing you know, there were rumors by elders and elderly people that there might be a coup by the youth to take the country by force. To be honest, this can happen. That type of leadership is possible. It can happen, but it won't, because we have embraced democracy. As people who have embraced democracy, the older generation also have to accept democracy. Tradition, culture in government is misconduct. Those are personal things, personal beliefs, personal cultures, tribes, whatever. But that's not the case. And to make it worse, why I put up the we are not 90, to elaborate better on that. By we are not 90, it means the way that we get allies is not in the same manner that the older generation used to get allies. They got allies to help them with guns, to help them with training, etc. But we don't use guns. And when it comes to training, we are training minds. And the world is not going to wait for us to catch up. It just won't. So the generational gap, the elders and the youngsters. The elders do not believe that the youngsters have the maturity to lead. This in turn frustrates the youngsters. I think using the DDA of Namibia as an example should be a very, very good example of a young leader who is able to carry his position with flair and honor. Well respected young man. And he totally contradicts that concept that young people cannot lead and should not be able to lead, because there has not been a transformation in leadership. What we have is the government, a government that does not trust its citizens, and citizens who don't trust their government, and no one in the middle to mediate, apart from chiefs who are completely clueless. Yeah, I said it, they're clueless. I still don't get why their role isn't merely symbolic. It should be. It should be symbolic. I get governance, of course, but we have to move with the times. Using Britain and the king and prince and whoever as an example, that just doesn't work. because they are symbolic. They have a family fortune that they amassed throughout the years when the British Empire was strong and so forth. It's not that they are getting money because they happen to be royal. This is just a case of influence. Because someone is related to a king, or because someone is the queen, or because someone is the princess wife or something, they tend to get special treatment due to that fact, because the British still respect their monarchs. But that doesn't take away the fact that they are just symbolic. As a matter of fact, the Pope is more useful than them. And this is just a fact. So, back to the generational gap and forming new allies. We can form new allies. We can. Right? And I'm speaking from a point where I have actually proved this. But the problem is, the narrative is stuck with the liberation struggle. And the only allies that are seen as allies are the allies that helped us to gain independence. And that is why we are so stagnant. Because we're not making new allies. We're making some more important than others. And even the USA as an ally, people don't trust this. They are imperialist. That's the notion. The West has imperialist. So in the end, our Western allies feel alienated. They end up helping the ordinary citizens, the ordinary people, of course, through aid and through Peace Corps and all of the like. But there are no actual agreements made between these countries to better make use of an ally relationship. Instead, we put ahead allies who don't put anything back. If Angola was our ally, our petrol wouldn't be as expensive as it is. So for them, it's symbolic. China is not our ally. They want to get something from us, and they have a population crisis. So they are not actually real allies. South Africa, those were our allies before we sort of started to disconnect from them. That's what happened. A disconnect started. But now we have allies in South Africa. I have allies in South Africa, Zambia, Botswana, even Mozambique, Rwanda, Kenya, Nigeria, America. Allies. That is why the generational gap is so troublesome, because we get tannies in parliament who have to read what was written for them, which is fine. But if you send out our delegates overseas, they embarrass us because their conduct is old school. Their conduct is old school, and the way that they rule is old school. So that's why we are transforming some things in Namibia. And that is why I speak of elders as opposed to just saying old people. I speak about elders because they have picked up a lot of negatives in life as well as positives. So they have two conflicting things in their minds. Some are still bitter about the past, and that won't take us anywhere. But it's really difficult to change a mind that has believed in the same thing for say 50 years or 60, 70 years. It's difficult. So the level of understanding between the older generation and the younger generation is different. And the greediness of some people on top filters down to the so-called youth who end up being entrepreneurs, and who end up only enriching themselves, empowering themselves as opposed to their communities, because this is what they see. This is why transformation is needed, and this is why our elders, like it or not, also have to transform the way they view the world. Right? It's a must. So I'm not saying elders are not useful. I'm saying elders have an old corroding narrative, and it should stop. Tribalism is something that is instigated by elders. Why do they have to always identify themselves by tribe proudly, as if here I am and I represent that tribe? So you don't represent your country? What comes first? We are a pot, we're sort of like a pot, a potjie, and different ingredients and different kinds of foods are put in there and cooked. That's how we are. We are diverse people, and we should enforce a learning culture among our elders. We should enforce it because they influence the younger ones. Just as we must protect the younger ones from dangerous ideologies of popular culture, in the same way, we also have to make sure that our elders understand the new world, the need for allies and partners to our country, the need to negotiate, but also the need to be stern and not just give in because you feel overwhelmed by the people you are negotiating with. You cannot go to another country overseas and be all Hey, hello, how are you? Come back home, and you're like, it just doesn't work. It's hypocritical. As a leader, we need leaders that can take ownership of their leadership. Ownership. That's what I meant by the whole elders and youth. I wasn't saying that somehow the elders should all just retire and go away. Although some of them should start to rest, be active in their communities, be advisors in their communities, build up their communities. That's what I meant. Because some young people are actually capable, very capable. And this issue of trust of older people and younger people, it's not about just starting to adapt to the things that the younger generation likes now. Oh, they like this kind of music, now let's do this kind of music. Oh, they like this kind of this, so let's also be there, let's also show, let's mingle with the youngsters and so forth. No, that's not the case. It should be understanding what the youth view to be their vision for the future, and how to facilitate them in materializing that view and that dream. Because as a developing country, our biggest investment should be the youth. This is a no-brainer. The youth should be the ones that we empower the most. And the elders have to understand how things have changed. We are in a democratic state now. We are no longer in the times of chiefs and kings and all of that stuff. No, we are not. They need to understand this. They need to understand that as leaders, the new kind of leadership that is required is not a leader that shows how fancy their car is, how fancy their house is, to show that they are successful leaders. We judge our leaders based on their followers. If the followers are suffering, then the leaders have completely failed. So we have to gain trust. But the youth movements won't stop. They just won't stop. Because we also care about our country and our future. We are just as loyal. And this year, I hope, is the year that we work together. Because I noticed that a lot of opposition parties sometimes just oppose things for the sake of opposing. There are some instances when you actually have to collaborate, have to work together, have to improve things. As well as the most important one, find out what your party can stand for and drive that home. Make that known. Because opposition is just as needed as the ruling parties. And our parliamentarians who have to go to school where they are taught conduct is another example of what I said about that age gap's significance. And the last point that I'll put as an example is the initiative of poverty reduction. In Namibia, it's not really about money. It's about housing, number one. This must be known. Housing. People need land. It is a human need and it is a basic necessity anywhere you go in the world. This culture of flats is completely destroying the morale of the Namibian citizens, young and old. And our poverty is not necessarily the poverty of not having something to eat for the day. It's not having the funds to have assets, to actually own something. To be able to pay for electricity, for water, etc. Those are the hurdles you face. Formal housing. Those are the things, those are the poverty. That is the poverty that is ours. Housing. So, that's it for now. It's late. Sorry.